Hey everyone, you are on People of the World podcast. I'm Sinai, and with me, Yosef Abramowitz, renewable energy entrepreneur from Israel. And today we're going to talk about like solar energy, renewable energy, and you know whatever we can talk about this topic. So first of all, hi, nice to meet you,
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sinai.
and thanks for being here. It's
Of course, it's Earth Day. It's Earth Day. Where else would I be?
yeah, sure, of course. Okay, so first of all, before like we talk about like things that you told me before the recording, I want to ask you like a very basic question. And I'm and I hope that you don't see it as a too basic question. But why solar? Why solar? Why not other alternative?
Look, first of all, we're in the state of Israel, and 60% of our country is desert, and even up north, we have so much more sun than most of Europe has, and Europe's way ahead of us. And so, um, because the first thing that God created, He said, "Vayihi or," and there was light, and so it's a gift. It's a gift. It's free. The energy is free. It doesn't pollute. It's the cheapest energy on the planet today, according to the International Energy Industry, and it's a complete blessing. So the question is, why not solar? Why are people going now? There are other renewable energies, but we have to make this switch as a species and each country to do its part from burning fossil fuels to quickly going to renewables. We have not been blessed with a lot of hydro. Even though the first power plant in the pre-state history was a hydro plant on the then mighty Jordan.
Mhm.
We have some wind, but we're also the biggest land bridge for bird migration in the world. About 1 billion birds come through, so we can't do that much wind. So solar is it, and it's not just the future; it's the present, and it's also a third the price of natural gas here in Israel. So the question is, why not? Why not solar? And
Okay,
the answers to that aren't very good answers.
okay, so I'm guessing it's a lot of bureaucracy or maybe policy or maybe like political pressure. I'm guessing, or you know what, you can tell.
I'm starting to call it political corruption. I
Oh,
think I'd call it corporate greed and political corruption. I'm not
wow.
insinuating I think that any laws were broken, but if decisions keep being made against the public interest consistently, then isn't that a corrupt decision, at least on a moral perspective? I think so.
Okay, so is it like, so you mean like more about like establishment corruption or like not doing the job that they're in there, right? The politician, if I'm guessing right.
And the question is, why aren't they doing their job? And the potential answers are either because there's corruption or
Hmm.
there's extreme incompetence after 15 years of trying to help them to do their job. So
But okay, but before
either answer
it's
is
not
not
good.
good.
Yeah, totally. So first of all, I'd like to for you to tell us about the what you've done in the Arava. You've done an incredible project there. I don't know if it call it a project or I don't know. You can name it better than me. But in the Arava, in the southern part of Israel, I think like 100% is solar, right? Right? I'm correct about that, right?
So I moved from Boston to Kibbutz Keturah in the Arava
Mm-hmm.
almost 15 years ago to the day, and was hit with this crazy vision. Let's make this the first region in the world to go 100% daytime solar, from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea. And that should be an example for Israel for 2030 to go 100% daytime solar. And
Mm-hmm.
Israel and the Arava could be an example to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, 10 years ago, uh, on World Environment Day, we plugged in the first solar field in the Middle East as really the fulfillment of the founding father of our country's vision.
Wow, that was
Transforming.
only 10 years ago. It was that's
First
it.
field was 10 years ago. I didn't do it alone. I really want to say we've had impact investors and partners and good cooperation with the local municipality of Eilat Eilot. but we're happy we have set the world record. We've been a full year of that region being 100% daytime, powered by the sun. And that's really the model that here we are on Earth Day, and here's President Biden doing the White House Climate Leaders Summit. And we have a lot of work to do as a planet, and we have to do it now.
Mhm.
But our little example is the proof of concept, and it's a proof of concept that inspired Biden Harris. I'm sure they had many, many inspirations, but it was certainly one of them, and it's one of the reasons why I'm essentially one of the fiercest critics of our current energy policies here in Israel. But we're 100%. We're more than 100% during the day. We're even exporting north some of the power.
Wow. Okay. So how many households does it providing like green energy? How many people are
Yeah, so
enjoying this?
Eilat itself has 60,000 people, and the hotels and industry, and then the kibbutzim and the moshavim all the way up to the Dead Sea, about 111 kilometers. So it's probably 70,000 people during the day. Don't have to feel bad that their air conditioning is on.
Does they feel it on their bills? Do they pay like a less energy bill at the end
So
of the
the thing
month?
is, they should,
Mhm.
but essentially, it's crazy. We're subsidizing the expensive gas. We're the cheapest part of the energy bill at this point. But no, we sell to the electric company for 20 years, set contract, and they essentially resell. And the electric company is not into lowering prices.
Okay, so it's stuck in this old maybe bureaucracy, or I don't know, called like a system that still. Okay, wow, that's weird. So you're not like providing it directly to the household. Actually, you're just creating the.
No. The electric company, and this is what we do in Africa as well. The
Oh.
off-taker, what we call it, is the electric
Mhm.
company. And so we're like an independent green utility,
Got it.
bringing green and less expensive energy to some of the poorest communities on the planet.
Okay, so I know it's gonna sound like a little bit like weird question, but do you see any connection for like, is it maybe like a Jewish thing to fix the world? We have the Tikkun Olam. I'm wondering if it's come from that, because when Jewish people come to Israel, they want to like they do like aliyah. They like, it's not immigration; it's more like a sense of pilgrimism, right? You do like something, you want to do you want to get the better side of you. So I wonder if it's like has some Jewish connection in that sense, or
It's all about that. In other words, it's a social business, meaning there are investors, they're patient capital. It's quadruple bottom line, right? So number one, investors have to benefit, but number two, there has to be a significant environmental impact. Number three is the humanitarian impact, particularly the ones in Africa or with the Palestinians. And number four, it really is to enhance the brand equity of the Jewish people and diplomacy of the Jewish state. And it is a business model for what we call tikkun olam. And we had to do this proof of concept, and now we and the entire world have to scale up now that we've proven. But it definitely comes from a place of mission, but it's not charity. It's mission with a business model.
So are you optimistic?
I forgot the key line. You did the setup, but I didn't dunk.
Oh yes.
Finally, the Jewish state could be ready. Drum roll.
Yeah.
A renewable light onto the nations.
Great! Wow, that's a great
mic drop. Wait,
totally. Is that your like slogan?
It is.
It's a great.
Obviously, great. Isaiah had the first version of it.
Yeah, but it's a better version. I think. It's more relevant version. It's a more relevant version, I would say.
You're a heretic. That's not better. We don't want to say that, but it's definitely
nice.
Here we are on Earth Day. It's totally relevant. Yes.
Totally. So I want to know if you're optimistic about where Israel is going in that sense. Like I mean, in like policy terms and where the government is going. And where do you see it goes?
So the government policy is consistently to preserve the monopoly of the gas companies. These are the proposals that are putting forward. The environment Gamliel is wonderful, but she's
Sorry, I didn't
limited.
hear you. I didn't hear the last sentence.
The environmental minister, her name is Gila Gamliel, is wonderful. She's from Likud, but the finance ministry and the energy ministry, also Likud, are basically blocking her from being able to really fulfill the needed program that we need to do under our Paris obligations, the climate bill. And starting tomorrow, everyone's going to have to up their renewable targets, probably to 50% renewables by 2030. We'll see what President Biden does. But that's the direction it's going in. Right now, if we were going to look at the politics and the policy, I would say we're not going in the right direction. There's plans to essentially steal 2 billion shekels of taxpayers' money to build more oil and gas pipelines. That means we're stuck for a generation with this. And I'm also wildly optimistic because I've just been in the Knesset, and if you look at the environmental movement, that we've finally united around a strong climate bill. And the big difference is the Greta. The Greta effect here in Israel is amazing. There are thousands and thousands of young people who aren't going to give up until Israel does the right thing. I take my marching orders from them, and we're going to win together.
Okay, so I heard that. So it seems that in one hand you're personally like super optimistic. You made a great case study in the southern part of Israel, but I wonder. I mean, but I understand that still the government is still like stuck or doesn't want to promote this initiative. So how can we go? How can we solve this? How can you solve this?
Look, it's the same thing we did when they didn't want us to do the solar in the Arava. You fight. Now, back then, we didn't have the economic arguments in our favor because solar used to be more expensive, right? And we were still able to do what we did. But at this point, we are a third the price of natural gas, right?
Yeah.
And so economics, if it was a free market, we'd be all solar already during the day. We have the greenest Knesset in the history of the Knesset today. 9 political parties have designated a member of Knesset who's their environmental climate person. 9 political parties have, out of I think 13 that are in the Knesset, have green and climate platforms, and we're going to fight and we're going to win. And the fact that the whole world is changing and President Biden is convening and putting the pressure and going to lead by example means we're going to win. And we're going to get the Eilat and the Arava to 100% night and day by 2025. So it's leadership by example. So I'm very optimistic, but we have a fight ahead of us, but we're going to be eventually on the right side of history, and we're just trying to accelerate that.
Okay, so I want to know, from your perspective, do you think that it's need in the renewable energy, I would say, industry? Do you think that we need like more government interference, like we need like big government to push this through, or we need more like a free market approach to this sense?
Free market. In other words, if this new government
yeah, hopefully
makes a law or even a regulation or an executive action that says that the grid operator, the electric operator of the grid, every 15 minutes just has to buy the cheapest power that's available to it, we would make that change so quickly. Because right now we're locked into expensive power and long-term contracts. As soon as you open up to market forces, the customers win. And that means our economy wins too, right? Like the cost of manufacturing will go down. Even our peripheral costs in terms of defense, because of defend gas, fields and pipelines, health costs go down because of less particles in the air and all of that. And so we're going to win this. We need government to create a horizon, meaning this climate bill, and then it has to get out of the way, because when it controls, it's controlling on behalf of some of the special interests.
So I'm guessing
And
that you're against this quota. You know that there's quotas for getting like the amount of energy or the amount of solar energy that you could sell for the electricity, whatever, right? So I'm guessing that you're just said in like in other words, you said just open it to whoever can supply an energy in a cheap way, and we're gonna win this way,
yeah,
right? So that's
yeah,
what I'm.
that's one of the ways we're going to win. The other thing is that think about our national security situation, right?
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, allegedly, according to foreign reports, there was an explosion at a nuclear site in Iran, and Iran is going to retaliate with cyber attacks, right? So let's say there's, heaven forbid, an earthquake. We're in a zone where it's about to, any day now. Cyber attacks against our grid all the time.
Uh-huh.
And then 150,000 missiles just from Nasrallah in Lebanon aimed at our critical infrastructure, right? So from a national security perspective,
Yeah.
every home should have solar on it, not just the hot water, which we all have. They should have for electricity, solar panels and home storage and batteries. It's from a national security perspective. Now, there's two ways that we're going to get there. One is we can be visionary about it. We can actually have some green leadership to do the right thing and to promote it. And that does take some government action. They have to make it worthwhile. They have to put some regulation into place. Or we'll adopt a sweeping Green New Deal the day after Nasrallah blows up the gas rig off of Zichron. That will be the, you know, so which one do we want?
Whether
So
the good way or the bad way, so we prefer, we need to.
we need leadership now, and again, we salute Biden, Harris, and Kerry on this Earth Day summit the next couple days, and the squeeze is going to be on all of America's allies.
Okay,
Hopefully in a good way.
I want to talk about a little bit like the technology. What do you see is the main technologies, challenges, or maybe the obstacles that solar energy specifically have? Because we know that the thing of storage of this electricity is like used to be like a huge deal. And also it used to be more expensive, but now you said that we're basically over this. So I wonder if you see any other challenges, maybe of the, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I don't know, maintenance of this or whatever. So.
Great question. So to be able to take in a lot of solar power, you need a grid that's a smart grid and that's built for it. And even though for the last 10, 15 years, we've been trying to lobby for upgrades to the grid to be able to enable this, they really haven't done much to do that, which has set us back, because now there's 8,000 megawatts in waiting for rooftops, right? And they're like, oh, the grid can't take it. It's like, good morning, hello. So we need to upgrade our grid. It needs to be smart grid, and we need that open market. Storage is only now starting to make its way. Panel prices used to be the issue, and they dropped like 80% in a short period of time. The battery prices, the storage prices are coming down just as fast right now. So it's about deployment. We got to deploy that storage, and we got to deploy it on a smart grid. And by the way, the more storage you have on a home and institutional level, the less pressure there is on to upgrade the grid too significantly, right? Because if every home is its own little producer, then you don't need the grid as much. It's more essentially as backup.
Is it possible is it like possible in the near future to have this, to have like off the grid option in that sense?
If I were made energy minister 10 years ago, the whole country would have been like that today, from a technological perspective and from costing, in terms of when you look at security costs. It's totally doable and it's preferable. And again, we can make they can make that decision and make it happen out of vision, or we can do it because of tragedy.
So again, if you can elaborate about the technology challenges again. So you said that there's the storage; it's solvable, right? If I understand.
Right, but we haven't done it yet. In other words, the regulations aren't fully in place. I'm not allowed to bring storage into the home systems or the institutional ones. We've had our first bids that include storage, and solar plus storage at night still came in at half or less the price than natural gas. Just to give you a sense of the miracle of the economics of it.
Crazy.
But we do have to upgrade the grids. The grids need to now go from the south to the center in the north, right? The 60% desert is down there, so it's preferable to do a lot more down there. But from a technology perspective, if there was no more innovation, we could still get to 100%. We just have to execute.
Wow, this is like great news, I have to say. And now I know that I really like to hear more about the technology that you're what's you working these days in the company that you're running. But you give me like some great news or interesting news before that people I don't know how to say, nominate you to be the next president of Israel, right? Oh. Give me, tell me something about it. It seems that I feel a little bit uncomfortable with this, but I want to hear about this.
I'm getting used to it because we're just from the Knesset. So let me backtrack. As I said, it's not an issue of technology; it's an issue of leadership, and that means it's an issue of values and leadership. Several years ago, in the country of Slovakia, a great environmental activist by the name of Susanna. She kept trying, she's fighting against all the bad guys, and she just realized, she has to make a move. So she decided to run for president of Slovakia, and the whole world was watching that story evolve. And then she won. She's the first environmentalist who took the presidency of her country. Isn't that an amazing story? You're relatively young.
It's an amazing story. I wonder if it's like if you're referring to yourself in that sense. Are you going to be the next Israeli president? Will you take the job?
So on the one hand, there's precedent. There's precedent for, and Biden certainly has environmental credentials, although he's a lifelong politician. We only have 7 years as a species to make the right decisions and to make the right moves. We have elections in Israel, for those of you who are listening, you're not aware about it, every 6 months, right? So there's no strategic thinking, there's no leadership, there's none of that. But the presidency is a 7-year term.
Yeah, but it's more a symbolic role. I don't know how you can like change the trajectory of where we're going in that sense, right? I mean, it's not like
bring it on. Bring it on and I'll show you. But the first thing is leadership by example. The president's residence we'll put panels on. We're going to recycle the water. We'll have compost. We'll have bees. And we're going to do the things because there'll be electric vehicles. Walk from there to the Knesset. It doesn't take that long. Like, in other words, the president has to be a role model. Citizen number one has to be a role model. And we're going to do that. And that will already change the conversation dynamic. The second is that you get a platform. You have a bullhorn. You're able to address the Knesset and say, these are the priorities, right? One is be nice to each other, cut it out with all the extremism, get a 2-year budget, make sure it's green, and you do a climate bill that will make the world proud, and then where you can be a world leader. And so to be able to do those things and to, if need be, strengthen the hand of those people who are demonstrating outside of proposed oil pipelines, I would bring the weight of the presidency. But also, who do you want leading your delegation as a country to the next UN climate summit? Do you want it to be, some minister who doesn't know anything about it, or do you want to be the person who brought the first region in the world to be 100% daytime solar, which if every country would achieve that goal over the next 9 years, we will actually win the climate battle. And so there's a lot that a president can do. But the president can't do that alone. And even if I'm not president, I think the notion of accepting this nomination from the environmental movement in Israel means other candidates are going to have to start talking climate as well.
And in that sense, I want to hear your, I would say, your interpretation of the green movement in Israel. How do you see it? Where does it go? What is accomplished during those years? Because from my perspective, it seems that it doesn't have a lot of like political power, right? Nobody votes in Israel about environmental issues or about green issues, but it seems that it's there. It's like in the background of a lot of things, and it's so. I wonder how do you see this?
Very astute observation and question. In Israel, people vote identity or security. That tends
Yeah,
to be, and not even necessarily economics, let alone education, healthcare, or the
yeah.
environment, right? Um, but something happened this year. It took 4 rounds. Maybe that's the mystical reason why the fourth time is a charm. But in the first 3 elections, there was nothing going on in terms of the environment and climate. This fourth time, we had our first climate debate. This is the strike. The youth
Hmm.
hosted it with 6 political parties,
Hmm.
including the right wing. It used to be an earthy, crunchy Tel Aviv kind of issue, right? Lefty,
Totally.
but the fact that you have Yamina and New Hope and Israel Beitenu all have very strong climate positions. We have seen the environmental movement come together like never before. And on June 8th, right around World Environment Day, there'll be a very large environmental lobby of Knesset members, probably 20 or more, across the entire political spectrum that are going to launch this caucus, basically Green Environmental Climate Caucus. It's very exciting, so stay tuned. Um, and we'll see. But look, the future voters are the youth, and they're making certain demands. And
What do you think make the
I'm
change? What do you think make the change that now people are talking about these issues much more than they used to talk before? And it's got out of Tel Aviv. You yourself did this project in the southern part of Israel. So what do you think make the change? People like get more aware of this, notice
it's
what's.
it's definitely getting hotter and drier. We had an oil spill that
So you can
closed down
feel
all
the
of our.
environment in that sense. You can
You
feel
can
the
feel
damage.
it.
Hmm.
We had an oil spill from an oil tanker
Yeah,
that
sure.
shut down. That was a big wake-up call.
Hmm.
What? So now we want to bring even more oil pipelines to the state of Israel. So that's galvanized
Hmm.
public opinion. There were 14,000 volunteers that came out for the cleanup. That's
Hmm.
an amazing. Like Israelis tend to, they care about the environment. It's part of the educational. Don't pick flowers.
Yeah,
And,
totally.
they
Israeli love their
hike,
countries. I have
hiking.
to say,
They
Israeli love
love
their
their
country.
country.
Yeah, totally.
Right, but the country is getting dirtier. You see more plastic, right? People are stuck in traffic longer. Now these oil spills, and the rest of the world is looking at the climate issue that it cannot be ignored. And then third, the price of the other energy. You put
Yeah.
all those pieces together, and you still need sort of like if you put together a formula of different chemicals, you still need something to catalyze it so that the rate of reaction will pick up. And in our case, it's the waking up of this generation of the strike for climate, the Greta people, and the Megama Yeruka, the green course, the high school, the college and high school students.
Or maybe
This is
political
now,
leadership, maybe also to get
well,
these things move on.
we're going to find out, aren't we?
Okay, so and also you were nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. Do you want to like give some words about that? Is it like
Look,
again?
it's very touching. I mean, first of all, I think Greta should be the one who gets the Nobel Peace Prize. If they wanted Greta plus one,
Mhm.
if they wanted not only people who, like, she got people out into the streets in a way that no one ever has, not even Al Gore, right? Like,
Mhm.
but if maybe the Nobel Committee wants to also show solutions, right?
Yeah.
So we certainly have solutions under our belt, both for a developed country like Israel, the south of Israel,
Mhm.
and for some of the poorest countries in the world. So if they want to show solutions, maybe just to be nominated is a big responsibility and certainly a big honor. But enna vi beiro, you're not a prophet in your
In
own
your city.
country. It took 12 African countries to say, "Wow, this is great."
Mhm.
So
Okay.
we'll see. But it's not about the prize; it's about the work, and maybe what the prize or the nations represent is really the mainstreaming of the issue, the bringing awareness to it, market signal to impact investors that it's time to invest in renewables companies. I have run one, and we're open for business. But I think it's just this is going to before Corona, we don't remember, right? It wasn't that long ago. The
Mhm.
climate was number one, and then boom, they couldn't
Yeah.
protest anymore. The demonstrations were building up.
Mhm.
Climate is back, and it's here to stay, and we have to win it.
By the way, do you think that Corona makes some shift in the way that we see the environmental crisis or the climate crisis?
Absolutely. Another really great question. And
Mhm.
I
Thanks.
think that like we in the environmental movement know that it's one planet and one world and interdependency and interconnection and you can produce greenhouse gases in China and it'll lead to starvation in Africa. Say these things, right?
Mhm.
But to understand that something can happen in China that can then close down the entire planet
Mhm.
because pandemics is one of the god awful things that can come out of
The
this climate
butterfly
crisis,
effect. The
right?
butterfly effect.
Not just the butterfly effect. You're going to have mosquitoes on the move carrying diseases
Oh,
into other places.
yeah.
The threat of pandemics with climate crisis only increases, right? It
Mhm.
only
Mhm.
increases.
Mhm.
And so I think that became tangible for the first time.
Mhm.
But it's the notion of we never had a model of that the world has to act quickly on something large that could even cost a lot of money, but it's imperative to do so. We didn't have a working model
Yeah.
that, and in a sense, Corona was the fire drill. My friend Rabbi Jenny Rosen says, Corona was the fire drill, the wake up call for what's needed on climate change. So I think one of the reasons why climate is so front and central because it requires global action, just like fighting off Corona. And there may be a cost of switching your economy, short-term pain, but for long-term benefit. And we now understand that as a species that sometimes you have to do that.
Okay, and I know that your time is super short. So just for like the last question, where do you see the future? Where are we going? And I wonder if I mean I don't know what's your next project? What's in the pipeline? What's waiting for you?
So we're going to cut the ribbon in Burundi and supply 15% of their power
Wow.
by World Environment Day. World Environment Day is early June.
Hmm.
Um, but we're working in 8 other countries:
Hmm. Hmm.
Ethiopia, Kenya, South Sudan, Zambia, Mozambique. I'm forgetting a couple. Liberia,
Why
Conakry.
Africa, by the way? Why Africa? Why?
There's 600 million people without power today, which is unfathomable. Another 2 to
How many
3
people?
million.
How many?
600 million people without power.
Wow.
There's 2 to 300 million burning expensive and polluting diesel, and the population is going to double in a generation. And so, from a perspective of lifting dignity, right? How can you have dignity, right, if you don't have access to healthcare or education or job? Meaning, you need access to clean and affordable power. And so, Israel has a long legacy, starting with Golda Meir, in terms of our technical assistance and helping out. And so we have picked that up and we've put a business model, social business model on it. And so we're an impact investment platform. And, we were the first to succeed in sub-Saharan. And
Oh,
that sort of took let's call it the Israeli can-do chutzpah spirit and a good
great.
example in the Arava.
That's a
That's why
green chutzpah. Green chutzpah.
green chutzpah. Oh my God.
We should
There's
use
my,
this. Green chutzpah.
forget about this presidency. That's my band name. Oh my God. We got to start a band.
Yes, totally green chutzpah. That's my gift to you. That's my gift to you.
All right. Look, if I get the presidency, we're still going to do the band. Okay. That's
Totally. So thanks a lot for participating in this. I learned so much. And yes, thanks a lot. Do you want to say something about the future? What is the percentage of being
so
optimistic?
we're going to win this thing because we have to, and
Great.
the next generation won't let up. You
Mhm.
can follow me on Twitter at Captain Sunshine with a
Yeah,
K.
so you have some plugin. Okay, great. Okay.
And we even have a GoFundMe on the presidential for the kids. But we're going to win this. Watch what happens now with Biden. Watch what happens in Glasgow in November.
Mhm.
And the market signals are there. And so it's only the monopolies and greed that is preventing it. And we We just need more moral leadership and a sense of urgency, and I think I might be able to help.
Great. Thanks a lot, Yosef Abramowitz, for this. And thanks a lot for your great job and renewable energy.
Thank you. Shine on.